Ladies, gentlemen, and Kents of all ages, welcome to the wondrous world of Kentum. This is a survival crafting Metroidvania game, which is quite a unique combination of genres, and thanks to the fine folks over at V Publishing and Talon Industries for sponsoring this video and giving us early access for this brand new game. I played it for a while, I had a lot of fun with it as well, so let's talk about what it is so you can figure out if this game is for you. And I'll keep things relatively spoiler free too for those who want the proper story beats and exploration to happen for themselves. The game starts like all stories start, with a disgruntled employee wanting to sleep in a little bit longer before his next day of work. Except in this case, a little bit longer, ends up being somewhere around 7,800 years. Humanity becomes completely extinct except for you, Kent. And so now, as a recompense for the amount of work that you skipped over while sleeping through it, you've been tasked with restarting the entirety of human society from scrap. Quite literally, as it is a survival crafting game. And I do think it's quite humorous that you're trying to restart human society, not because you want to, but because it's literally what you are being employed to do, I guess. The story, the writing, the humor, and the voice acting are all just really, really solid. I have laughed out loud multiple times playing so far. It is just very charming.
What do you reckon this be?
Is that an attempt at a cowboy accent? Is life on the range already taking a toll on your psyche?
I'm trying to have some fun. Leave me alone.
Howdy, I'm Rural Rory, your trusty robot partner.
You see, Orb? Cowboy accent. Finally, someone is having some fun.
But please refrain from catching them using spheres, and do not make them fight each other. Plon does not have the budget to hire lawyers, if there are any remaining.
Got it. Capture animals, avoid lawsuits.
The visuals are solid too. It's very stylized, and I'm a fan of how vibrant everything is. As for the gameplay, as this is the bulk of this style of game, it's definitely something special and unique. I'm a fan of every genre that is mixed into this game, and it's all being done in a very fun way. The survival crafting elements are apparent immediately. You are instantly asked to go get some materials to start setting up your home base. You hit objects with your staff, which is the evolved form of your nearly 8,000-year-old dead bonsai tree. You craft at your base, and you can make everything from like your classic storage crate to a straight up brain in a jar that you use to do the science your little Kent brain is not smart enough to do. You can build things like extra layers of platforming around the place, and importantly, you can actually automate crafting and farming type processes through the use of things like claw arms and conveyor belts and stuff like that will just automatically bring items from one place to another if you set them up to do so. And this is just the first step of full base automation, which can happen later on. This extends forward to the monolith, which is like a secondary base essentially, as it's the place that you need to slowly work through, pour resources into, and build up for the actual proper work of restoring humanity. There's a resource scanning system in the game that will automatically unlock all recipes related to that resource when you scan it, and the progression of the crafting felt really fast-paced and very clear as to what I needed to do next and get at each stage. I was never really confused about what I should be doing. And like many other survival games, there is of course a hunger system to it as well. This depletes over time if you don't eat, and you can cook food at your base to make it restore nice amounts of hunger. You can prep food to take with you on expeditions outward, but it does have a time limit before it expires, and some food will also give you other buffs like healing. As for the whole Metroidvania aspect of the game and the combat and stuff like that, I love the way that exploration is handled in Kentum. It has that classic Metroidvania style map design where you can basically choose to go any given direction you want, but you will eventually hit a wall in multiple directions, which require you to have some sort of upgrade that you don't have, except for the one path that will actually lead to proper progress. But through this exploration, you'll find things like new plants, new animals, you'll find teleportation pads that function as fast travel points, and importantly, it just lets you see all of these locations on your map as you progress, so you know where they are later. And my favorite example of how the map works in this type of game, and especially inside of how they've done it with Kentum, is at the start of the game, let's say your ship lands from space, and when you first start the game, you immediately just have this hilarious vertical line all the way up the map showing the path that you came down from space, and that's just something like almost like parodying the genre as a whole, and I think it's just really funny. It tickled me a lot when I noticed it. As you find new things and progress the story, you'll be able to unlock upgrades for your character, and importantly, upgrades for your staff, which, to be clear, is not just like a piece of wood, it also does have a magic cube on it. Or I guess a high-tech science fiction cube, but I don't understand science, so it probably is magic. This includes things like expanding your combat abilities, new attacks for your staff, a dodge mechanic, stuff like that, but it also includes traversal tools like a hoverboard or exploration tools and survival tools that will let you just explore more of the map, unlock new areas you couldn't previously reach, unlock new flora and fauna, as a result of that, which then lets you progress the game even more. And it's just a really, really satisfying gameplay loop. That said, I should mention that I played the story mode on normal, but you can also play this as a sandbox game with the story off and everything else functioning normally, or in creative mode where you basically just have unlimited resources completely. And any of these three modes can be played with custom settings affecting things like spawn rates of various things, and plenty of other options too. But non-custom story mode is the only thing that lets you get achievements. That said, there is of course also the combat, and it's not the most complex combat system in the world as far as there isn't attack combos you need to memorize, there isn't weapon types you need to swap between for different enemies, and in fact the actual combat itself, the actual buttons that you'll be pressing, is quite simple. Like most Metroidvania style games, it is honestly 90% about your movement and your positioning over anything else that you do, and then just having good movement lets you deal damage to enemies with the limited attack options that you do have. There is a ton of variety of the enemies though the enemies doesn't really feel like the right term for most of them, as most of them are just straight up animals, though there is also lightning elementals and stuff of that nature, and I absolutely view this guy as my enemy. Sorry, he hurt me multiple times. In fact, he killed me multiple times. And not just multiple times, time doesn't reverse to a checkpoint, do it again, because that's not how death works in Kentum. In Kentum, when you die, you become a new, fresh clone of yourself with all your memories and all that jazz. The deaths are canon within the game. You can find your own corpses on the ground and strip them for your own human materials, and you can then pick up your own backpack and retrieve your fallen items. Though when this happens, you will always lose a portion of the items that you did have, so death does have consequences in this game. As well, on top of this, when you die, time will progress forwards, and time also progresses when you sleep, which you can do to restore health at your base. After enough time passes, the season will change, because this game has a full dynamic season system, and when this happens, it will change the animals and the plants that are available, it'll change the look of the world and everything, and it'll also change the way that you look as Kent yourself, though you can change these manually later on. A banana, for example, might become a poisonous plant. A specific kind of lizard might show up in some seasons and then disappear for other seasons, and these seasons rotate quickly enough that it adds a lot of freshness to the game. It makes it feel like it never gets stale, and there's also a weather system on top of that to take it a step further. Overall, the most accurate words that I can find really to describe Kentum as a game are charming and engaging. The art style is very cute, the story is fun with an element of mystery to it, and again, the writing for the game is just absolutely phenomenal in my opinion if you enjoy a little bit of dry humor. The constant back and forth between Kent and Orb, the robot helper, and then the way that this extends to various other robots that you interact with as you go through the story, it's just very lovely. There's little one-off jokes, there are jokes that have a bit longer of a payoff before you actually get the result, and pretty much every one of them landed for me. As far as the combat, there was a very specific feeling to it that I think is due to the mixing of the genres here. The combat itself feels very Metroidvania in the actual inputs and the design of how the enemies work and you fight and stuff like that, but then the actual choices of what to fight and how to fight them are much more survival game-like. Even in the first starting areas, some enemies are weak and piddly and will not fight back. Some of them are a tier up from that, they're a bit dangerous, but they are manageable if you're a little bit cautious and strategic, and some of them are these goddamn ostriches that have a billion health and will chase you to the ends of the earth if you so much as look at them the wrong way, but they are also passive unless you hit them first. And then rounding back to this big guy, the lightning elemental I talked about before, and he pretty much just exists in the area that he is. You do not have to kill him to go past him, you can just walk past and ignore it entirely, or you can choose to fight it. It is your choice. It moves around so you can somewhat control where you fight it, and because it floats around, that means in some positions you can only hit it with your piddly light jump attack because it's the only thing that'll reach and it just doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but if you can drag the enemy over following you to a ledge or something like that, then you can start busting out your charged attack that you unlock early on, and that makes the fight way more manageable just because you do a lot more bursty damage, and so you can kill the thing a lot easier that way. That said, the fact that you don't even have to kill this massive dangerous enemy to explore past it is a great example of how free the game is, and the fact that you can drag it around and change your strategy by just using the actual shape of the map itself is very cool to me. And again, I really like that you can just sort of choose to ignore this thing, walk past it, and never actually kill it if you don't want to, and then you can just keep exploring, keep expanding your map, and keep going until you hit a wall of needing to find a new traversal item, but you will always find those through exploring or progressing. And the second that you get one of those upgrades that opens up traversal, it unlocks like a dozen more paths to go down suddenly as well. At the end of the day, if you've been liking the footage that you've been seeing on the screen, and if you are intrigued by what I've been saying about the game, I think you should check out Kentum for yourself. And if you are a little bit on the fence about it still, there is a demo for the game that you can download to play it yourself and see if you like the way the game feels in your own hands. As well, the game is now available as of today on Steam, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and Series S, and there will also be a Nintendo Switch version coming out at a later date and time. That just about does it for today then, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this, and look for the link down below to check the game out for yourself. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.